Let's talk about what's going to happen now as this rolls along. President Trump appears now to be openly embracing the conservative blueprint Project 2025. Remember that from last year amid the government shutdown, despite distancing himself from that during the 2024 campaign. In a social media post yesterday, the president announced he would be meeting with his budget chief, Russell Vought, identifying him as of Project 2025 fame, to discuss agency cuts amid the shutdown. Vought told House Republicans on a conference call this week mass firings at the federal level would happen, in addition to hundreds of thousands of government workers who are typically furloughed during a shutdown. Those comments come after Trump spent much of last year, of course, denouncing Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation's massive proposed overhaul of federal government, drafted by many of Trump's longtime allies and now administration officials. Back during the campaign, Trump repeatedly insisted he didn't know anything about the blueprint, that he'd never read it, that he had no idea who was behind it.
I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do.
President went so far as to call that plan seriously extreme, said he was conceived by people on the severe right, his term. When asked about Trump's reversal, a White House spokesperson told the Associated Press, Democrats are desperate to talk about anything aside from their decision to hurt the American people by shutting down the government. So, Von Hilliard, you've been reporting on this. You can talk about Donald Trump. I don't think anyone believed last year during the campaign he didn't know what Project 2025 is. You put that to the side for a minute, but what is he meeting with Russell Vought about? What are these? It looks like they're going to target, as they say, left Democrats, people in the government, actually using politics to decide who gets fired or at least furloughed.
Right. Willie, number one, he denied it repeatedly, but back in 2022, I remember listening very clearly. I was sitting in my car in Ohio watching a live feed of Donald Trump at a Heritage Foundation event in Florida, talking about how they would be the ones to build this blueprint for what a Trump 2.0 administration would look like. So all those denials, they were flat out falsehoods from the very get-go. And he was speaking to people like Russell Vought, the Heritage Foundation. These were folks here over the course of the last decade, J.D. Vance, right? Jeffrey Clark, who have articulated this MAGA vision of what the executive branch should look like for the last decade. And right now, they are in power and in the position to be able to do that. And Donald Trump is their vessel. The man who is essentially, effectively running and making the decisions of the federal government is OMB Director Russ Vought. You heard directly from Speaker Johnson yesterday be very specific in saying that it was now Russ Vought who would have a subjective view on the priorities of the federal government, the admin's priorities, and make sure that those are the ones that are funded, that Vought has to decide which services are essential and not. It's Russ Vought who is deciding which federal government employees are essential workers right now, and he's arguing that some of those essential workers are those that are going to have the ability to go through the process of firing other federal workers, which is caught up in litigation. But this comes down to the whole argument that Donald Trump and his cabinet are making, that the executive branch is run by one man, and that is Donald Trump, and he can go and cut USAID funding. He can go, right, and fire workers at his own will. He can go through these things, and he doesn't need the approval of any agency.
Yeah, there's some questions about the legality of this, but the White House has put forth the same idea about it's akin to his powers in foreign policy. He can kind of do what he wants. And we well know that President Trump doesn't always like it when a staffer suddenly is elevated and gets in the spotlight. But I'm told, and I wrote on the shutdown for this morning, is the idea that he likes the idea of Russ Vought playing the bad cop here, that he is wielding the hatchet and is looming Sam Stein as someone who could go through with these mass layoffs. They haven't committed to it just yet. But it's remarkable just how politicized this shutdown already is. Vought's already, first of all, we should note, has canceled or frozen up to $25 billion in projects, clean energy, transportation, and the like. None of them in states that Trump won in last year's election. We have Trump himself saying that that Vought may get rid of a lot of things that we, quote, didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things. And also, remember the Hatch Act was a quaint thing that people cared about in some years ago. You know, it's supposed to prevent government employees using government resources to do political things. The every government agency website, whether it's Department of Justice or HUD or any of them, all have banners that say something along the lines of like, oh, we can't help you right now because of the Democrat shutdown. And when we ask the White House about it, they send they triggers an out of office reply in their email, and it does the exact same thing, saying we can't talk to you right now because the Democrats shut this thing down.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that they want to make Democrats feel some political pain for this, right? I mean, they're obviously and they're not even hiding it. They're obviously targeting Democratic priorities. They're going after Democratic states. These out-of-office replies are like both churlish and very partisan and probably illegal, and they don't really care. The idea here for them is that if you can just make Democrats feel enough pain, ostensibly that those Democrats will cave. And I don't know if that's necessarily the smartest way to go about this, right? If anything, you can make the case that Democrats will probably, double down and say, no, we're not going to give in. And part of the problem here is not just the way that Vought is acting right now, but it's the way that he's been acting in the months preceding now. There have been government funding deals that this administration has reneged on. They've used rescissions to say, you know what, this agreement that Congress has struck on government funding levels, we don't like it, and so we're going to undo parts of it with a simple majority vote. If you were in a negotiation and you and the other party said, sure, we'll do a deal, but we have the right to go back on it, I mean, what is the incentive to do a negotiation going forward? And then finally, I'll just say, as a strategic matter, and again, I actually think the White House probably is in the upper hands here because I think, as David points out, they can just sort of wait out Democrats. But as a strategic matter, when the economy is not doing particularly well, when the job market is not doing particularly well, I'm not totally convinced that firing thousands of more workers and withholding tens of billions of dollars in federal funding for more projects is the smartest move. If anything, it's going to hurt the economy. It's going to hurt the standing of the president. And you're going to get ownership of the bad things that emanate from a shutdown when you do that. So I know these guys are acting extremely tough, and it probably will work because the numbers are on their side. But they are grabbing ownership of this shutdown the more that they let Russ Vought basically dictate what the consequences are.
Well, Sam, I mean, that's interesting. And I think that's probably right. It does seem like the White House and Republicans, they certainly have the power, right, to conduct this however they want. Now, I would argue this looks like a pretty serious overplay of their hand to say, okay, now we're going to fire thousands of workers. And there are some numbers that came out yesterday that suggest a different story. And my old newspaper, the Washington Post, did a poll. They did a poll. Who are you blaming for the shutdown? And 47% of respondents said Republicans, and 30% said Democrats. That's a big difference. Now, that's counterintuitive. That's not the way these shutdowns have worked before. But you can look at the history of government shutdowns, and if you look at it as a set of data points, you could come up with two interpretations. One is that the party that's out of power, that's sort of causing the shutdown, always gets blamed. And the other way you can look at it is that Republicans always get blamed because they're the anti-government party. And when the government shut down, Republicans get the blame because they don't like the government in the first place. Now, again, that's just a hypothesis at this point. But, Allie, did anybody notice that poll? Did anybody notice those numbers? And did it? One thing I have not seen, for example, is a graph in stories, a paragraph in stories saying, Republicans said their private polling says just the opposite. But I haven't seen that paragraph.
And I don't know if they have it yet, right? Because it's so early. We're on day 3 of this shutdown. I think both sides are just kind of going off vibes at this point. But I do think that the more polls you see like that, the more that each side is going to have to reconsider what's going on here. And there's still more yet to be seen of what the actual fallout and impact is here. We've done partial government shutdowns in recent years. We have not done a full government shutdown since that 2013 one that David Drucker was talking about. And I think that means that people haven't felt the full pain of a full shutdown in a long time. And we don't yet know what the impact is, though early signs show Republican bravado might have a very soft foundation.
Sounds like a lot of people's jobs are at stake as this gets fought over. Ali Vitale, Vaughn Hilliard, thank you both. Sam Stein, thank you as well.